Brace yourself. Today we are going to talk about meditation just a little bit and how you can access that consciousness for yourself. All right. Hey, we are the Deb Show at here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Live. Kathy, how are you today?
I am doing very well, thank you.
All right. So we are going to talk a bit about meditation, and really we're talking about binaural beats, which is a way to, uh, I guess, be training wheels for when you're learning to meditate. And I don't know about you, but one of the things that I find in my meditation is quieting this mind is so hard to do. And so when we're meditating, we want to actually try and block out the mind and move to a state where we are not in that thinking mode. So that is why we're talking about binaural beats, because they are an aid for that. So I am just gonna get right into it. So here, oops, push the wrong button. All right. So our brain waves, we have brain waves, will kind of be at different levels and different hertz, which is the brain wave, depending on our state. And so there is high beta, which means you're in a stress mode, and high beta is roughly around 18 hertz. When we are in beta, which is 12 to 15 hertz, we are in our day to day living. So, right now, we are probably all in our beta state as we're doing things. Then we move to alpha, and the brain waves I think they have a higher pitch. I better not say it because I know not say it right. But they seem to be bigger and not smaller. But I better not say, because technically I'm not great with that stuff. Okay. So at any rate, in beta, we are in our day-to-day living. When we move to alpha, which is 8 to 12 hertz, our brain waves, we are more relaxed. And this is where our creativity can come out. And then as we move into theta, which is 4 to 8 hertz, this is where we're getting into our dream state and where our genius resides. And this is where we're really mellow. And when we are in delta, which is 0 to 4 hertz, we are asleep. So that is where we're sleeping. And so the ideal place for our meditation, if we want to kind of visit the consciousness and turn off our brain, is actually the theta state. And so, if especially if you're new to meditation, I hear this so much from everybody that all my friends, as we're getting into the meditation and stuff. It's just like, uh, how do you do it? And sometimes we put stress on ourselves, which doesn't help the situation, because we are really have a difficult time quieting our mind. And what I will say about that is this is a practice, and it's something that you need to continue, and over time it will get better. And sometimes, I don't want to discourage anyone, but sometimes over time can be quite a bit of time, like it could be years depending. But the other thing is we're all individual, and our experiences that we have during our meditation are very individual to us. So whatever you're doing, however you're practicing, it's all good. It's all about you and what you're doing. But we can use a tool which is called binaural beats to help us to be able to get into that theta state. And you can actually use binaural beats for your focus time. There's different levels of binaural beats, and you can use them for concentration, focus, your creativity level. And then the theta, which is where we want to go when we are looking to meditate. So what are binaural beats? So they are an aid to reach into the theta state. At least that's what we're talking about today. In order to really get the benefit from the binaural beats, which is basically a track of frequencies, you need to wear a headset. You will not get the effects and the impact unless you're wearing a headset. And what's happening is there is one pure tone or frequency going into one ear and a different one going into the other ear. So, as an example, you can use 100 hertz in one ear and 104 hertz in the other ear. And so they are not in balance. And so what happens is the tones go into the brain through the auditory nerve. And at the corpus callosum, which is very fancy, this is where the nerve fibers are that connect the brain hemispheres. So this is where we're connecting the two hemispheres of the brain. So when they travel through the auditory nerve, the signal kind of mixes and matches in that corpus callosum at the center of the brain. And that's where you hear the beat sound. So the beat sound isn't coming from the wave sounds that you're hearing. It's actually coming from when the sounds mix in the in that middle of the brain in the corpus callosum. So that's and we've been talking about Tom Campbell and the theory of everything for the last couple of weeks. And Tom Campbell was very instrumental in actually, I guess I'll say, inventing this whole concept of the binaural beats a number of years ago. And so when you're hearing the beats, it's because they've been that is like the meshing of the sounds in the center of the brain. And so I will say that listening to the binaural beat doesn't force the altered state of consciousness upon you, but it's an aid to help you to be able to get into a stable theta brainwave state. And so you still have to put in effort. It's not like you can just do it and all of a sudden you can, rock the meditation and all that. You actually still have to put in the effort. But it's kind of what Tom likens it to is training wheels. So it's training wheels for our mind, I guess, to get us into that state. And so the why would we want to get into the theta state? Because when we're in this theta state, that's associated with focusing inward and away from processing external data. So this is where we're trying to shut off our mind. That's always, I don't know if you're, anytime I'm doing stuff, the mind is always giving us chatter. You go to a place where you're trying to settle into and get rid of that chatter. Sometimes it's really hard. And I think for me, at the beginning of when I started meditating, and I'm still practicing, it I can kind of get rid of the chatter for a short time and then it comes back. But I think over time, you can get it away from longer periods of time before you get that chatter back. And so the theta state is also is very conducive to our deep meditation and our ability to explore consciousness. And so theta state actually happens just before we fall asleep, fall asleep naturally. And it's usually when we're falling asleep, it's a very brief time when we go from being relaxed and restful in our alpha state to being in the delta state where we are in deep sleep. So this is the kind of I guess, the place where we want to be if we want to do deep meditation and be able to do more exploration of consciousness. All right. And Tom calls it point consciousness in his theory of everything, or his my big toe. When we induce and maintain um, the 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 theta state through our meditation techniques, then we are able to explore the larger reality. And in order to do that, we need to stop processing data from our physical reality. And we need to be undisturbed by thinking and other mental processes. And when we feel like we're in point consciousness, we're feeling like we're floating in a black void. So you know when you've arrived, when you feel like you're floating in a black void of perceived nothingness. So and I think a little bit, everybody has a bit difference, but this is a good way to think of it. And it's not something that's for me is all that easy to get to, but it's a practice. I think, and when you're first starting out, you're going to have more of those times where you might get there for a second and then the brain kicks in again. But we have to keep practicing. So that's kind of where I'm at. And so the binaural beats, like I said, are kind of like training wheels. And at some point, you really need to wean yourself from them. And so if you think about when you're, using training wheels, when a kid is learning how to ride a bike and they have their training wheels, I remember my brother had the training wheels, and over time they kind of bending up, and before you know it, the only time the training wheels were hitting the ground because they were a little bit off the ground was when you were trying to turn. And once you know how to balance on the bike, those training wheels are actually going to retard your ability to ride your bike properly. You're not going to be able to turn corners and do all that stuff. And so at some point you become free of the training wheels, and the binaural beats is the same thing. At some point, you need to remove them and stop using them, or else it actually will retard your development. Because what it'll do is it'll lock you into a specific altered state when you should be able to be free to shift states as easily as you shift your attention. And I'm just going to say I'm not there yet at all. So I'm taking this as from Tom as the real expert in this, because it's not something that I have achieved myself. All these altered states. So I'm looking forward to it down the road, but I'm not there yet. I'm using my training wheels still. And so eventually you can go from actually even let go of formal meditation because you no longer need to go through that process. And when you are really arrived, you can accomplish your meditation instantaneously anywhere. And people can actually be in a meditative state while they're doing things, or while they're, I could put myself in a meditative state right now if I was at that level. So once you really arrive, you can actually get into a meditative state at any point. And so if you don't want to become addicted to this tool, the binaural beats, or any other tool, because at some point it becomes a self-limiting crutch. But it's really good when you're starting out. And also there's a caution: don't listen to the binaural beats when you're operating a vehicle or doing anything physical where you need to pay attention and be in physical reality. And also after you've listened to the binaural beats and you've finished your meditation, you should ground yourself first before you start getting into any physical activity or anything that requires you to have a focused attention. So don't take out your knife and start chopping stuff when you're still in this state. You might regret it at some point. Definitely driving a vehicle or getting in the car and driving would not be a good thing either. It's kind of like they have the warnings about the medications that are drowsy. Kind of the same thing here. And so where can you get them? Well, you can actually make your own. You can just go to Google a web binaural beat generator, and there's a whole bunch of different ones where you can make your own binaural beats. Tom Campbell has them for sale on his mybigtoe.com website. I've got it here, my-big-toe.com. And he's got a bunch of stuff there that you can buy. You can, like I said, you can make your own. I'm sure if you just went to YouTube and you Googled or searched on binaural beats, you would find a lot of stuff too. And you want to go binaural beats for theta because they also have different levels, because you can get binaural beats for focus and concentration as well. And so what Tom says is the only way to really know what's best for you is to experiment and try it on your own. So I thought I would spend a minute. Hopefully I have a binaural beat track that I got from a site where you generate your own. And so I'm going to try and see if I can do the binaural beats for you, but you have to listen very closely when I'm going to put them on and see if you can hear them. It sounds like almost like a buzzing noise. If you ever seen like at a electricity station or something, the zzz, but again, you can kind of hear the two different ones, but you have to listen closely. So let's try it here. I'm going to turn it on. Like a hum. All right. Yay, that worked. So if you have the binaural beats with the headset on, I have my ear thing here. You should hear actually the beat, whereas that was just like a hum. And so there's two different frequencies there. They're at 4 hertz difference between the two, and that will give you your binaural beats and be an aid to help you to get into your theta state. So what we've covered today is the binaural beats, what you can use them for, a little bit about them as an aid for meditation and some of the cautions and things. So I just thought it would be kind of cool. And that will hopefully help you to visit your consciousness and get rid of the mind so that you can get into those altered states in meditation that can, you can really kind of get a different perspective on reality. All right, Kathy, any questions?
So if I'm understanding you right, these types of things, like if you're playing them, it's easier for your brain to mirror what it's hearing.
It's easier for your brain to get into the brainwave state that you want it to be in. That's what it is, right? Because
Okay.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's like, okay. And then, so if I'm having trouble sleeping, I can get the ones for, I think it was theta, and just put it in use my headphones at night and just fall asleep to that, you think?
There's definitely ones to help you to sleep for sure. So I'm not sure if it would be the theta. I mean, it's delta is where we're.
Oh, delta. Okay.
Yeah. So you can definitely find ones where it's better for sleep. And you could try that and see if it helps. I know I listened to a tape, but it was somebody actually talking as well, like in a real light talking, and it was actually distracting to me.
Oh,
You have to try it. Try it on your own and see what you get. Yeah, you can get definitely getting into theta will relax you and you might fall asleep. But I don't know if you want to, with the headphones on and all that stuff. But yeah, I try it and see if you can find something that will get you into that state because that would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
All right. Well, again, we talked about binaural beats. If you have any questions or you liked what you heard, share this with your friends and family. And we will be back tomorrow. It's Friday in the kitchen, so we'll see you
Ooh,
tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Bye for now.
bye.